Welcome to the Springs in the Desert podcast. We're those friends that you can take with you wherever you are on the path of infertility.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Springs in the Desert podcast. I am Anne, your host for today's Desert Reflection episode, and I am so happy to be joined by my Springs in the Desert team member, Katie. How are you doing, Katie?
I'm doing great, Anne. Good to be with you this evening.
Good to be with you too. And tonight we're going to record a desert reflection. These are a little bit lighter than some of our other episodes. We like to offer a little bit of encouragement and maybe offer some ideas or practical suggestions. And today we're going to be talking about a really cool subject, which is going to be dating. And that is dating in our marriage. And so I'm really excited to have that conversation. And you brought a special guest with you, Katie. So why don't you introduce him?
I sure did. So my awesome husband, Matthew, is here with us tonight. We've been married just over 5 years and glad that he's making an appearance on the podcast. How are you, Matthew?
I'm excited to be here. I've obviously been hearing a lot about the team and the podcast from Katie and listening on occasion myself. And now it's fun to be able to be a contributor.
Yeah, awesome. It's so good to have you and perfect to have both of you together for our discussion about date nights. And I think this is so important for us because especially for those of us who are in a season of infertility or if we have been dealing with a pregnancy loss, this idea of dating our spouse can get lost. If we're charting and we're going through treatments and we're timing medications and we're doing those things, I feel like we can sometimes get distracted by all of that. And then that relationship building can get lost in it. And then on the other hand, we may have this perception that people are looking at us and saying, oh, look at them. They're living their best lives, right? Look, they're having all this fun. And so then we can feel strange about taking a day trip or going out for the evening. But I'd love for you both to share why it is so important that even after marriage, we should continue dating as spouses.
Yeah, I think it's really important. When you're dating before marriage, it's so easy to be so caught up in the excitement of the relationship and planning for the future. And it's easy to see the gift that your fiance is. But I think that idea of gift and that relationship that you're cultivating is something that needs to be the core of your marriage as well. It's all about the way you can build up each other and then let that spill over. So even when you're facing challenges, it's even more important to be investing in the other person.
Yeah, and even just to build on that a little bit is if you think about dating before you're married versus after you're married, and if you could look in the future and know that you weren't going to be having a happy relationship with this person when you're married, then the dating before you're married wouldn't be that interesting or fun at all. So it's the point of the dating before marriage should be the dating after marriage in a sense. It's all to continue growing and deepening in your relationship.
Oh, I love that. I think that's great. The point of the dating before marriage should be to carry that into your marriage. And it's so easy to get lost with that, just with the normal challenges of life, but particularly when we are in a season or we're carrying across like infertility, that can be so difficult to keep in our minds. So I love that. The importance of continuing to nurture our relationship and to grow together. Yeah, I think that is just so great. So let's get down to it and talk a little bit about not just why dating is so important, but maybe some of the ways that we can rekindle that dating atmosphere in our marriage. So if you guys could think back to maybe some of your date nights as a married couple, is there one or are there a few that might stand out as being extra special?
Yeah, it was interesting when we were trying to think ahead of the podcast episode here and trying to pick out a few extra special dates. It struck us both separately and then more as we were talking together that the things that popped out to us more weren't so much the like that one really special night, and it was more just the different things which maybe you do every week. And they aren't really, a lot to talk about, but there may be the things that actually make more of a difference in terms of building the foundation of your relationship together. So, I don't know, we often will, on a Saturday morning, we'll often go to morning mass and then get coffee afterwards or something like that. And so it's not like a special date night in a sense, but it's also the thing that first popped to mind more when we were trying to think of what were sort of special times together.
Yeah, and when we were thinking about that pattern of kind of a whole bunch of little moments together building our relationship, it was making me think about our relationship with God, our prayer life. We shouldn't be seeking always these mountaintop moments with God. It's good to have those moments, but really what we need to be doing is just fostering that relationship with Him every day and those quiet moments together. And then we really saw a parallel between that and our relationship with each other. That said, just like it's good to go on retreat sometime and have those moments set aside for God, it is good to have special date nights. And so we were thinking about, we just celebrated our 5th anniversary. And so we made reservations at this really nice Italian restaurant, and we got dressed up and we just really enjoyed ourselves. And so it's just that balance between taking time out for those special days, but not losing track of the relationship with all the day-to-day. Needs both.
I love all of it. There's so much in that we could unpack. We could do a couple episodes on all of that. But I loved that the first thing that sort of came to mind was the simplest, right? And it's great to have these special romantic, you ordered a limo or you took a little river cruise. Those things are great and they create wonderful memories. But to be able to look at your marriage as a whole, even in the day-to-day, and to look at those special moments that may not be so flashy and romantic, but are really important to your bonding. So I love that. Just the simple idea of let's go to mass and then go for coffee. And then there you are. You're able to sit together and just talk or laugh. And I really like that. And I also love that parallel you drew between the relationship with God and the relationship in marriage, because it is true. I think so many of us have gone on retreats that have blown us away. And we're like, oh my gosh, I had such an incredible experience of God, right? And then we've had other times, whether it's on a retreat or just going to mass or just in our prayer life, where it's, I don't especially feel God here.
Mm-hmm.
And it can be like that a little bit in marriage too, right? Because it's just like the day-to-day and the mundane. And it's not that every single day, like our hearts flutter as soon as our spouse walks in the door, but that's okay. Like it doesn't have to be that. It's just that sort of collection of days and moments when we're together, and when hopefully more often than not, we're remembering and reminding ourselves of, we're here living in the mundane, but I get to live it with this person. So I think that's great. I think those are great reminders.
Just another thing that came to mind on that was sometimes I feel like when we plan a super special date, then there's all this pressure that it's like going to be one of our core memories together. And so sometimes I really just even feel more comfortable with those little dates, because then there's no expectations. And then sometimes it becomes even more awesome because you're just more relaxed. You're not trying to make it the best date all year. You're just just being together.
Yeah, exactly. No, I love that. That's really great. So let's go a little bit further with that and just thinking about the people in our community. And again, this idea that maybe we're so caught up in the charting and meds, and some of us have doctors, we have to drive a distance. And we get so caught up in that we can forget about that nurturing aspect of our marriage. Or maybe we're just in a season right now where we feel like, gosh, I don't even know how we can really bond better or nurture that unity. So what are some ideas that you have for those of us in this community who are in a particular season and are just thinking, wow, I don't know how we can bond or get closer?
Obviously, it's going to vary a bit from person to person and from couple to couple. And I guess it's going to be maybe the thing that'll apply to everyone is just that reiterate that it's worth pursuing and trying different things out and exploring and seeing what activities you might enjoy together, even if you try something and it doesn't falls flat a little bit, and that's okay. That's a normal part of the process. If you're working on deepening your relationship, it's not like everything you think of to try is going to work out, and that's normal. So I guess that would be a baseline to set. But maybe other things, like you mentioned driving to doctor's appointments, and I know we've definitely done that, but I don't know, try to plan ahead a little bit and time maybe a fancier dinner date for after the doctor's appointment, or something to give you something to look forward to more in the day, as well as obviously there's going to be this harder part, but just try to balance it out a little bit.
Yeah, I love that. Katie, any ideas?
I guess just a formula that we found really helps is like something to do with God and then food. If you're looking for like back to basics of what to do, mass and coffee, or confession and ice cream, or pray morning prayer and take a walk. And then I think it's also good when you start by centering yourself and your relationship back on God, that if you're feeling like you don't have a lot to bring to the relationship right then, you can ask God to heal and bring fruit out of your marriage and make it a fruitful time together. He'll always help you out there.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I think that those are great ideas. So in these last couple minutes that we have, I wonder if you can maybe think of some advice or just maybe some words that have helped you with couples who are in a season of infertility, or perhaps have been dealing with a loss and are struggling to date each other in this particular season. Because there are so many different aspects of marriage that are important. But I think this idea of the date night or the day trip, or just the time that you spend together, even if it's just on the couch, binge watching a show, just that time that you're spending together, the unitive aspect of our marriages is so essential. And it's essential to bringing forth whatever fruit God wants to bring out of our marriages. So what are some things that you can say to our listeners in this community who are struggling to date each other in this particular season?
I think I would first say that it's okay that it's hard sometimes, because I think sometimes there's just so much pressure to be, like you said at the beginning. Our friends are like, oh, look, they have more disposable income, or they don't need to get a babysitter. They must have the best dating relationship. And it's okay when you feel like you don't. It is going to be hard, and I think that's just normal. And hard things in marriage doesn't mean not a good marriage or not a fruitful marriage. Sometimes you might be able to look back and thank God for that suffering and see later how it brought you closer. So I would just say, just keep trying to spend time with your spouse. And it's okay if not every date is super fun. It's okay if you cry at the end of it. But the point part is just that you're still cultivating and nourishing that relationship and being there for your spouse.
Yeah, no, I guess you're thinking, like we mentioned, words that pop to mind or just maybe help to encapsulate. I guess one thing that's always helpful is just to think about, maybe sometimes people can have a temptation to dwell a little bit too much on what if we'd made different choices, like maybe what if I hadn't married this person, what if this person hadn't married me, would they have been happier? And I feel like that kind of a thought is never going to be helpful to you, because you're living in the present now. The past is over and done with. And it's not your job to discern what to do in the past. It's your job to discern what to do now. So I think that can help maybe to clarify for people a little bit about what's your project now. Today is day one of your marriage, in a sense. It's day one of the rest of your marriage. So this is the beginning. And instead of to feel like you're lost in a dead end, no, you're at the beginning of a new thing.
I love that. What a perfect way to end this episode, with the beginning. I love that making every day one of your marriage. The big grand gestures are great, but they mostly happen in the movies. What we need is to just each and every day love our spouse the best that we can, ask God to help us love them with his love. And yeah, if today didn't go great, you know what? Tomorrow is day one. I love that. I think that's terrific advice. Matthew and Katie, thank you so much for being with me today. Matthew, I hope that you will come back again.
Oh, I'm sure I will.
Wonderful. Listeners, I hope that this has been a blessing to you and to your marriage. And if you have any specific dating ideas, if you have planned some really great dates and you want to share those suggestions with us, please do that. You can email us or share on social media. We would love to hear your ideas. And as always, we are here for you and we are praying for you, and we will see you next time.
Thank you so much for joining us for this Springs in the Desert podcast episode. We would be so grateful if you took a minute to rate and review us so that we can reach more listeners. Don't forget to check out our social media pages on Facebook and Instagram, and go to our website, springsinthedesert.org, where you can sign up for our newsletter and community prayer list, read our blog, and register for virtual and in-person events. Most importantly, remember that God loves you so much, and so do we.